Hello, hello. Good morning. My cats are already having a meltdown. Very excited to see you today. We're going to hang out with some singing bowls and chat. I think that'll be a nice little way to just kind of get to know each other a little bit, enjoy some sounds. Hello, good morning. I'm just getting this. Now we can talk to each other face to face. Excellent. So I have some large singing bowls with me this morning that I wanted to share some of the sounds with you. We can talk about instruments, but also, hello, there's a lot going on in the world. And I know I've been like really hitting the science stuff recently, so let's pivot to some art, shall we? If you haven't yet experienced my morning tea, yes, I drink out of this is a blend tech actually, not a Vitamix. And it's the only thing my cats don't try to take from me, so that's how that is. Here's some of the sounds that I have. Hi Jade, hi Smiley Vibe. Let me turn down my air conditioning. Get better sounds. I'd love to share some of the healing sounds with you this morning, a little bit about the free materials that you can get upstairs. Everybody this morning. Did we get sleep, or was it more like your eyes closed for a few hours and then they woke up again? Some days my eyes are like that. So this isn't necessarily like a formal, hi Creek, how are you? As you're hearing this, I'm not mic'd very well. I can't find my things that make that happen, so we're just going old school. So exciting for me. It makes me feel like I'm communicating what I've learned through Chinese medicine better, which is great because the whole reason to learn things, if you're me, is to share it. I don't want to keep anything for myself when it comes to ideas or tools that might help you. So this music, we're just going to call it Katie. I come from a long line of musicians on both sides. There are composers in my family, multiple instruments, so we'll just call this blood. And the idea was something like a sound bath or a sound experience is that we're bringing the whole body into it, not just the ears. How do you do that? Fuck if I know, I'm not your body. Maybe if we close our eyes and just listen for a moment. You can follow along if you'd like, or you can just watch and listen. Sometimes I think about it like arriving, especially if I've just been doing something and, and then you sit down, it's like your body's there, but you're not all the way there with your body. I invented a whole new practice to help us remember we have a body. It's called sense of bum. I'm shocked that nobody has ever taught this to me in any system I have learned, Western or otherwise. Sense of bum is to be connected to the part of you that's connected to the environment that you're in and the surface that you're on. So if it feels okay and good today to let your eyes just gently close, or maybe even like partially close, you can go ahead and do that. And if your eyes want to stay open, then have them open. And so open eyes, you'll be focusing very gently on something between you and something farther away from you in your environment. So if you're sticking around here for a minute or two, I invite you to move your phone just a little bit forward away from you. And so we're just going to be with this E. And as you're here and you're experiencing the vibrations of the sound, they're coming in through your skin, your ears, your hair response to sound. Maybe there's a place on your body or like inside that's feeling particularly responsive. Mine's like right here today, right in here. And I have a little bit responding right in my inner ear here. This feels a little tighter. I might even be starting to get a little in my forehead. And then again, noticing what you're on, the surface you're on. So you might be on a chair, you might be on a bed, maybe you're seated like I am. And then a couple breaths in through your nose and out of your mouth. Hi Mare, how are you today? Visionary Empress, thank you for all the likes. Or even request stillness with something like music because it's moving. Music moves. It's the only way it works. Something really lovely about music is you can breathe with it and not even be a musician. most important thing in healing a body is having one. And sadly, most of our doctors don't believe that's possible, even necessary. I don't know why. Most of our doctors think all you need to heal is a self. No, my friends, we need a whole body, regardless of the injuries, illnesses, or fuck-ups that it carries. Whole body. So Chinese medicine, and this context in particular, contemplates you and me as whole. Thank you so much for what that was. I don't even know. But we are whole-ass humans. That's what the doctors give us, pills. Well, sometimes pills are necessary. But how people are trained entrains the brain. Entrain, E-N, entrainment. This is actually a psycholinguistics, neurolinguistics, auditory term as well. Entrainment. It's when the oscillations in our brain and then like the waves of response in our body start to come into more of like a synchronous and harmonious flow rate with what's around us or in our environment. Propagandists love that for changing how you think about things. But it's also really good for changing how you think. So from the lens of Chinese medicine, non-invasive Chinese medicine, so no needles here, we're going to have to go inside the body, like all the way in. I should get you a picture of what that looks like because it is so beautiful. You're going to be like, what? That's the inside? Let me grab it for you, seriously, or sincere. I don't know which way to say it, but it's amazing. And I'm going to get this one because I'm less likely to break my tools with it. So this is a beautifully artistically rendered rendering of the Nijing 2. This is the chart from Chinese medicine that we use to help psycho-emotional pain. Look at that. Hello. Inner landscape of you and me. Can I just like have this here resting and like maybe chat with you? It's gorgeous. So the ones that I have available for you for free in the free bundle up there, it's black and white. There's a English translation. All of this Chinese is poems and like secret passage, secret keys. This is a treasure map for the inside of us, and all of these entities, they operate as Shen, S-H-E-N, which is, let me do this. What I really want, my friend Mayor Kundi, whatever, I need a helper, truly, like a TA, a teacher's assistant. I'm in Pittsburgh, if anybody, but you just have to be COVID cautious and not violent. I think that's a lot of people. Look, okay, let's talk about this while I play you some sounds. I'm gonna practice multitasking. First of all, behind me, there's my mother. This is my mother wound. I turned it into a sculpture. This is the Queen Mother of the West, who's incredibly important cosmologically in China as it relates to men. Okay, so what she did, cosmically, historically, written for thousands of years, Queen Mother of the West, counseled the Huns, like Attila the Hun. They went to her and said, what do we do to be a better man? And you know what she said? Don't be a dick. So a lot of what she taught, and there's another entity, the White Tigress, who I'm more like today, was all about sustaining life force energy by retaining a mission, which is also a really good way not to be trigger happy. So we need that right now. This is peaceful. So this Nijing 2 charts one whole human. And if you take a look at the very top of it, you see that mountain peak. Those are the 9 mountain peak. So the 9 mountains. In acupuncture, there are 9 main needles, archetypal needles. Idaho! I've driven through Idaho a few times. I appreciate you feeding me. Thank you so much. So these 9 mountains, the 9 mountain peaks, the 9 needles of Chinese medicine is also, if you've seen any of the divination I've been doing, the number 9. Just like numerologically, is that a word? Numerologically. So we have a triple trine crown, 3x3 crown, every single human, all of us. That's our homunculus. Homunculus is a very important topography, like if we were mapping the sensory motor cortex and experience. And so if you look way up at the top, you see that tiny little red dot? Oh my goodness, that tiny one little red dot, that is an idea. Tiny, look at that, it's so little. It is not a red pill. There's no red pill, blue pill here, I'm so sorry. Once you enter into this, you're just a whole ass human with pain and suffering. That is something that 100% of us have right now, okay? And many of us experience that all the time, Miss Maria. I have been very good to my kitties. Miss Maria, the pet nanny, gave me some advice on one of my kitty cats. Thank you. So that's an idea. Darla, the pet nanny says hi. That's why I just want you to know I already fed her and I took her out and I also gave her shrimps. So I would not like any tickets from the pet nanny. So the inner landscape, that's what this is called, the inner landscape. She loves halibut. So as you look at this inner landscape, I know this isn't like perfect to your face, but who cares? It's Saturday morning, okay? Somebody new is coming into the White House. For many of us, this is like going on another 4 years of like consistent, persistent stress and trauma. That first administration, many of the psychologists I know were calling it Trump, thank you, Trump anxiety syndrome. And then we had a pandemic, and now we have a second thing. We've got to make sure this is flowing, baby. Chest has been tight. Okay, tight chest. Yes, it has been. I am not set up to show you fully how you might work with that, but you could just lie down on a pillow in a way that arches your back a little bit and then just like relax onto it so that your chest is just a little bit lifted, and that can sometimes help the connective tissue start to think in different ways. Do you know why? This is, I am highly political. Taoism was a response to high control governing, specifically. So absolutely, this is political. This is so political, I think everybody should have access to it. Everybody. That is a political statement. Oh, please, I drop the F-bomb all the time. I think it's important that we recognize that many of these spiritual lineage teachings are political. It is a political thing to say that everybody should have access to teachings. It's a political thing to say only these students who have achieved this level of practice have access to this. That's political. It's not necessarily evil, but it's political. Do I believe in chakras? Yes, I have experienced chakras. The attunement here is to dantian, it's to space, rather than vibration and movement, so that we're cultivating, I like to think about it as bandwidth, but it shows up as a wider window of tolerance. All teaching is political. All teaching is political. Got a master's degree from Carnegie Mellon, so I can say that and have it be true. All teaching. All media is political. My definition of political? Something that ends up with the government, maybe? Soon find out that ancient wisdom is real. Not as long as they're counting on their computers to prove it, but yeah. Computers have a primary limitation, and it is prime numbers. But like you and me, it's just mushy balls of bog, because we're basically like walking bogs. I feel like we do best with an experience of ground that is like solid on something. And that's a little bit different way of contemplating than like raising the vibration or reaching up or like doing like this, which is so wonderful, unless and until you're a human traumatized, in pain, dealing with something, just newly injured or disabled. That brings all of us back down to, I call it flat, it's flatland in physics, 2D, 2 dimensions. One of the ways that shows up is when we receive our diagnosis based on whatever issues we're resolving. So this down here, this node down here corresponds to all the way down in the belly of the Nijing 2, all the way down here. And where this is on your body is a little bit below your belly button and in. If you have a uterus, you could tune into that area. How can I hold this into? Here we go. I wanted to see you to see my environment today, not just some galactic backdrop. So this base, the bottom third, what, first third, second third, third, this bottom, this is like the bottom. I don't know how many Gen Xers we have here, Weebles, like Weebles wobble, but they don't fall down. We are Weebles. So you could even bring a smile to your lips, and then let me make this be pretty still. And a smile to this area, smile to the area at the base. That's your belly, there we go, your belly, your perineum, better. On this chart, you can see there's like a boy and a girl down there. That's yin and yang, primordial yin and yang. You interpret it any way you want. I'm telling you how it is, but it can mean anything. You can see spine, the yin and the yang. This is an ox herd. That's the weaver. That's the inner child. That's Buddha, and that's Lao Tzu. Scooby-Doo says the two. What the two? The two yin and yang? All right, I'm gonna stop multitasking because I'm very good at breaking things. And these are crystal, and they would probably hurt my feet. So why don't we just change the angle of the dangle? And just listen. This is art in the sense that there are only artists. No, ooh, I love that. There are only artists, no art. That's fascinating. I feel like art is really important. It could be because I'm the child of artists, and an artist myself. But in Chinese medicine, in this framework, where did this go? So in this image, the totality of that as the Nijing 2. So we contemplate that as like the perfected inner gaze. Like if all of my organs were doing everything optimally and my environment was perfectly situated for everything that I need, my inner landscape would be flourishing, right? My digestion would be amazing, my perception would be clear, my sleep would be restful, pain would be something that I can address that would not be with me all the time. Oh, I got you. You've been seeing lots about two, like feminine and masculine. Well, you are in the land of that, very specifically, Taoism. Taoism is the practice that gives us yin and yang, which I may or may not have a picture of right next to me. I jumped. It's the squiggle with the black and the white little fishies in it. In Taoism, this yin and yang, the masculine and feminine is like this tiny little bit of what it is. Yin and yang is a magnet. It operates like a dipole magnet so that you and I can experience electromagnetism in our body, which is one way to contemplate us as animate, as like one way our life force energy shows up. And then what happens is, whatever this shows up will have aspects of it that are yin and yang aspects. But like a thing itself isn't yin or yang. So one way to contemplate that could be the temperature outside today. No, Tao is non-dual. Tao is absolutely non-dual. Yeah. It's a non-dual based on 3. Zen is non-dual based on nothing. So on non-dual, just from like a practical perspective, means that you're not in a system of 2. That's all it means, is that you have more than 2. So in Chinese cosmology, the basis, the foundation is 3 in these systems that I know. I mean, there may be more systems I'm unaware of. Oh, lovely. I'm so happy that Taoism has been with you. But Taoism does non-dual all the way up to like 64, 120. It's a very multi-dimensional system. Protection sigils, yes, indeed. So I just posted that I'm making some protection sigils for the storms to come. Yeah, so I'm basing them on low shoe divination. Oh, awesome, you feel it in your legs. Low shoe divination is universally applicable, and it uses numbers, and I map it and plot it onto our body through the Bagua, so that we can be looking at, listening to, and contemplating things that'll bring that experience more into balance. So the protection sigils will block Heremort. That does not mean it's going to keep me perfectly safe, but like from a psychic perspective, I feel like it'll just give me a little something, something. Oh, listen, hold on. What are the three tenets? They are not tenets, they are types of energy: Jing, Qi, and Shen. Jing, Qi, Shen. Also compassion, moderation, humility. Also earth, fire, water. Also default mode network, central executive network, salience network. That was your brain. So Chinese, this alchemy is based on something you may have heard of called a three-body problem in science fiction and physics, where in physics it has to do with being on Earth and determining the pathways of celestial beings, naming planets, like how are they going to go, and predicting that. Chinese medicine is fully based on just doing it. You don't predict it, you just do it. Three-body problems. It is simple and also very profound, as Aaron mentioned. So the three bodies, right? Jing, Qi, and Shen. And then the idea, the question or the inquiry is, how do we balance this experience? How do we balance it so that the default setting ends up being the planet rather than a tree or the cosmos? For you and I, when we were becoming human in vitro, right? We are born flat on the ground. We're not born walking and climbing. So this is my perspective on how trauma lands in us. It's always a young part of us that's carrying the wound, right? Like, I don't know about you, my 50-year-old ass is not carrying a lot of my wounds. She's like 13 or 6 sometimes. You know, it's a very young part of us, but also with injury, you know, like, or illness, that will also kind of bring you down to the ground. You take a deep breath in through your nose and out of your mouth. And in through your nose, out of your mouth. I would like to give you a phrase to your mind that somebody gave to me, which has been amazing in helping me disrupt, especially rumination and like looping thoughts. I don't know if you ever get into, plus I have echolalia from autism, but you just kind of like think, okay, well, hold on a second, my friend, Scooby-Doo like that. Let me tell you a secret here, okay? Just because it's simple does not make it easy. Motherfucker, okay? These people are assholes. They're not assholes. The Taoists, they just had a different chanting, yeah, humming and chanting, absolutely. You know, I think a lot of the stims that neurodivergent folks do, they show up everywhere, many of them, everywhere, as humming, as an example. You have echolalia. Be aware if you go into any kind of mantra-based context. Excellent, it helps you regulate. Wonderful. Let's add the word resonate. We're gonna add resonate to regulate. Add. Personally, I would like to replace, but we're gonna add it. Okay, because you and I are not fucking regulators, okay? I am not a cop to my own body. Sadness. Our bodies are children. Yeah. So if you go upstairs to the place, there's a thing, and you go, the first thing is a $20 thing, the second thing is a $0 thing. Go get the $0 thing. If that, yep, seriously, it's like all you do is end up having access to my Substack, which is free. The paid stuff, on my Substack is like white papers and research and stuff that you would like put into practice in an organization. But like, just go do it. Take a path from the center, only worthwhile, straight, oh wait. Okay, hold on. This just got very deep. Let me get closer so I can be deep with you. Do what? if you were to take a path away from the center, the only worthwhile is straight, well, anything towards the center is towards the divine. So particularly within the context of, I would love that. So would my cat. Taoism is it's like tofu. When tofu comes out of the package and you just have this like block of tofu, if you've ever heard of the uncarved block, there it is. It's a block of tofu, okay? Awesome. It's not going to taste like something or occur like something or have the mouth feel of, I need to do something to the tofu to make it delicious for me. Maybe I turn it into tacos. Maybe I have well, it depends, right? Am I making a smoothie? Am I making a stir fry? So Taoism asks us to contemplate things kind of like tofu. It's impossible if you have a personal relationship or reaction to it, obviously. It's not a neutral thing. But like on the face of it, as an idea, we're invited into, I call it the field of moral neutrality. Okay? Genocide is a moral absolute. There are moral absolutes, but the contemplation is the field of moral neutrality. And when we do the field of moral neutrality, then we can start to contemplate ethics, distinct from morals, which, if you're in a helping position, a helping role is super duper really fucking important, because our helper role, some of what we believe, has absolutely no place in the work. I'm very open about my relationship to deities, but my relationship to deities should not depend, you should be able to be anything that you are and receive and be able to use tools. This is my belief. This is what I'm attempting to do by putting all of this together in what I'm calling shantegrity. What work? I've done all my homework, if that's what you mean. You can feel it through your phone, yeah. If you get the $20 deal, there's a 90-minute sound bath for you in there. But I'm increasing, I'm adding more to both my YouTube and my, whatever that other one is, Substack. And again, most of it is free. You shouldn't have to pay to access yoga. You should have to pay to access the shit around it, but the yoga itself, absolutely not. Yay, people and peoples, woohoo! So I received a beautiful compliment yesterday. I want to share with you because I'm going to just brag a little bit about it. And the compliment was, wow, I've never worked with somebody who just assumes that I'm already disabled and neurodivergent. And I was like, yes. Just so everybody knows, anytime I walk into somatics, like something with body, I assume that there's injury, illness, neurodivergence, and trauma. I just assume that. I don't like the whole setting something up trauma informed, okay? That comes from research. But pretty sure we all had some trauma informed experiences without people having to go get certified. Think about your favorite library teacher from 3rd grade, or experiencing Mr. Rogers. I don't know about that, but let's just remember that we can experience safety without a piece of paper saying that a thing is safe. Those pieces of paper are important in many ways, especially as soon as somebody's licensed or messing with you. Liability insurance actually more important than anything if you're working with a coach. But also, okay, your body is your body. My body is my body. So what somebody tells me about an F sharp, which is this sound, I don't know how many hertz it is, but let's just say it's 300 hertz. Because you can measure sound. I'm happy you're here, Chris. what 300 hertz means depends on who's defining it. But what 300 hertz does that can be measured tends to be pretty consistent, right? Because you can measure to 300, you can measure the volume, you can measure the tone, you can measure the pitch, you can measure all kinds of things. If I turned around and say all of those things mean it's going to happen in your body that way because of this sound, I do not understand what I'm saying to you, truly. So something we can who the fuck knows, okay? Maybe 300 hertz for your kidneys needs to be 400. I don't know. So I would much personally rather be in a space of curiosity and guidance and contemplation, and does this feel good? If it feels good, then awesome. Your chakra, your root chakra has been assigned to middle C on a piano. My root chakra is down here, it's low E. This almost gets down to here for me. From a personal perspective, synthetic consciousness would look like a system of always referencing. It's an array. Usually feel when someone will pick up on your neurodivergence. Yeah, we have the little cheek, cheek, cheek. Yep. Absolutely. It's not always a good thing, right? When somebody picks up on your neurodivergence, we have a lot of lying we need to do. Masking is lying. It's really flippin' important. I do it and it is lying. 6 dimensions or a hexagon or a carbon molecule or a star looks like 6. Spiral. Masking is so hard now. Can't do it anymore. Yeah, I was never very good at it. I've always been accused of rolling my eyes and having weird face, but whatever the fuck. Now I don't mask much anymore because I'm pretty sure it contributed to my cancer. Just holding everything in for so long my whole life. I would like not to have cancer again. So I'm a weirdo now, total weirdo. So let me show you what the kind of, what are those? Flashcards that I put together in those materials upstairs. What happens when the 3 of the relays interact? Weirdo, come be a bean, B-E-A-N, the bean scene. I don't know what 3 you're speaking to. But let me show you what your flashcards look like. Look, see, they're real simple. Here's your pericardium. Truly. So I wanted you to have, it's wow, she just gave me all this stuff. What the fuck? Yeah, the bean scene and the Shandan. Yeah, it's going to be bleh, but the bleh leads to this, okay? Here's your heart. So just like granimals, you can just pick and choose these, right? Thank you. That video on the sounds is part of what you get in the $20 course. There's also a video I posted that has the galactic inner landscape and the healing sounds and healing smile recently. It's in the playlist How to Do the Things. The full $20 bundle also has a yoga manual I wrote for teacher trainees many, many years ago, but it's all in this vein. Gives you all kinds of fun stuff about how teachers think, but also how you can use shapes in your body to assist with the movement of energy in our meridians, and those relate to our organs. OMG! Oh no, Scooby Dooby Like It said something, OMG, what? What have you been watching? For only 20, you should buy 10 and give them to your friends. And I don't say that obnoxiously. Some of the documents alone would have been part of other trainings where you would pay hundreds of dollars to access the training. So I'm like, just let's give you the information. And be confused with the information rather than feeling lost without anything. So the Taoist way truly is proper confusion. It's built on disruption. The disruption is so that you can shake the dust off of things without ruining the underlying structure. And then you can see if the underlying structure needs to be repaired, replaced, or given support. We don't have the given support aspect in our mindset in Western medicine. Because that makes you disabled. And then, of course, you don't deserve. So all of this is assuming that you either are or you're just fucking traumatized all the time. Okay? My friends? Post-traumatic stress does not exist right now for our species, the whole species. Maybe for you and me, we can be post a traumatic event, but planetarily, man, we've just been in it for a few years. And now we have Trump anxiety 2.0. We already had the 1.0 in 2016. Now we have 2.0 on the heels of 4 years of global pandemic and denial. And then we're going to have a third factor. And your yoga teachers are all going to tell you to regulate your nervous system through it. And as a yoga teacher, I'm going to tell you that's not only a crock of shit, but possibly not the best way through. Can you imagine trying to regulate a child during a war? Or to regulate yourself during a fire down? It's so challenging. Okay? So what happens, plural, I'm not saying it happened to you, but what happens, well, yeah, your trauma did train you through this. I'm suggesting that some of these these are tools, can assist with easing the suffering of what we need to be pulling into life to rely on. Do you know what I'm saying? All the tools that you and I have, anything that people would name us, oh, you're so resilient, you're so clever, you're so this, you're so that. Those are really wonderful tools, but also they get fucking heavy. It's a lot when we're having to do it yourself or just with a small group, right? So Chinese cosmology and Chinese medicine, the one single unbroken thread, all right? So if there is a string, from a string theory or multidimensional physics perspective, the string is the umbilical cord. That's what connects you and me to humans, is this, our umbilical cord. And then the vibrations are the genetic code. That's a ladder. It's a helical spiral staircase. So just by being born, we already have it all. But we have a tendency to forget that it's the belly button that connects us. And now fucking Western medicine is trying to tell you that you have an attachment wound because your parents were shitty, okay? That's based on research looking at white women so that they could put them back into institutions after World War II, speaking of politics. So hysteria became bipolar. Oh, we also have conversion disorder in there as well, which goes back about 100 years. We're going to get a lot of conversion disorders diagnosed in this next couple of years because of brain damage due to COVID infections, specifically. However, KDZ fixed her brain that was damaged by getting in touch with some fluidity in it rather conversion disorder is when your feelings convert into physical process problems. It is a Freudian concept. Over in the world, it's called functional neurological disorder, FND. There's a lot of debate as to whether or not it's even real. It is very often described as existing at the nexus of neuroscience and psychiatry. There is no nexus. Neuroscience is completely separate from psychiatry, fully separate. There's no nexus. They're not talking to each other. They're not researching together. So conversion disorder, I'm really happy you're here too. Conversion disorder is Freud. Fully fucking Sigmund Freud, hysterical female phenomena. And that it might be something like that, but the subtext of that diagnosis is you're crazy. It's in your head, as in like you can fix it with your mind, not it's in your head, your brain is malfunctioning. And the part of the brain that's malfunctioning for a lot of us is how this is operating. This is the structure in your brain that creates cerebral spinal fluid. Look at it. It's so freaky. This goes into your brain stem. Okay, this creates the fluidity in your spine. If our brain has inflammation, this poor little baby has a little hard time getting that fluid in and out of our spine. And then if I show you this again, you're going to see it represented by China thousands of years ago here. So here's already your spinal fluid. And then this area here, the crystal palace. Okay, so we smile to the crystal palace, and then that helps the fluidity in the spine, as well as this area here, which is pineal gland. This is the jade pillow. This has a lot to do with, I'm going to say cognitive clarity, but not from a cognitive behavior perspective, from a cognitive science perspective. I love this visual too. You can go get black and white copies for free in my thing. Okay, so here we are. Here's your crystal palace. And then here's the experience of flow in your body. You want this? I'll send you a version of it. Send me an email. I don't give this out to everybody, okay? I don't. It's a special thing. I need to have some special things. But yeah, so the Chinese medicine, it assumes you're a living human for one thing, and also they didn't do their experimentation on enslaved black women to find out about gynecology. There should be an email, hello, well, let me just tell you what it is. Can I put my email in the quote, in the chat? Am I allowed to do that? Comment. Hello at KAYTEEZEE.com. Boom. Email in the chat. Thank you for bracelets. I do think that the black and white versions are better for learning and for determining how it's going to work for you personally. Because black and white is going to guide truly from like a more purely neuron-based seeking in your brain. The color creates a whole picture, like a movie screen already complete. So even, again, because I'm so clever, some of this is fully symbolic, some of it is metaphor, some of it is totally made up. You always know which one is what. even if it's not overtly labeled in what you're looking at, I'm going to give it to you again. Okay, I have done everything that I have done based on real life, genuine world-class training from leaders all over the planet and what they do, like political science, cognitive science, data, that kind of stuff. And I'm actually applying information science and physics logic to what I'm doing so that we can be very sneaky with all these fucking Chad algorithms that keep trying to tell us to hate each other. Okay? There's a lot in the world I'm not very happy with right now, including very much especially what's going to happen in the next 4 years. I'm terrified. Absolutely terrified. Fully terrified. I'm queer, I'm disabled, I'm in my 50s, I have a vagina. I'm also on many, many, many lists. Hello, HELLO, at kdz.com. So if you see my username is the KDZ, it's just kdz.com. I don't try to be hard to get in touch with. I'm just very not good at only creating something like that's small. I'm used to serving like millions of pages on a website. Or the last position I held in STEM was doing identity verification on the blockchain internationally and ensuring international compliance. Then I had a stroke and everything changed. So yeah, so go get the free stuff. Oh, thank you. The painting behind me is me. I made that. It's called The Lovers. I was just kind of fucking around one day, but it turned out pretty nice. I've been making lots of art as I've been sitting at home by myself for the last few years, being disabled, having had a stroke, having a family that doesn't understand what that means, even though our father also had a stroke. My brother, my silly brother. Yeah, a lot of us have been home. We're going into the 5th year of isolation for many of us. I am not stepping into this winter without some friends, okay? My expression, I still smile. Smiling is the most important. Thank you. I'm getting a tooth fixed on Monday. I might just have him pull it though, so I have the extra $1,000. I don't think I need a crown. We'll see. I mean, I do need a crown, but it's also less expensive to have a tooth pulled. And I just realized I should probably replace my laptop that died before we go into tariff lands next year. I have a feeling computers and technology is going to cost a lot more. But for now, we're just going to hang out here. So speaking of smiles, let me show you the inner smile, the healing smile. But I want to show you the healing smile with something else. Okay, we're going to do the healing smile black and white. So, healing smile. Did you get what right? I'm not sure what you're asking me, my friend. I truly don't know the answer to that. Oh, I'm not on my email right now. I don't think I can even get to it. Oh, you did? Let me see. Hold on. You're scared to paint. Okay, Una, I'm so sorry I just was asshole to your name. I want to speak to being afraid of painting. And so just to tell you, it's hello@kdz.com, and you can spell KDZ up there. As it relates to being scared of what'll come out, we got to get close for this one. Like really close. Like super duper. Okay? Because that is an understandable fear. And it's a real whoop. I'm very put together with my technology. I don't know what your problem is. Okay, listen. But back to the important thing, okay? Yeah, sometimes scary shit comes out when we do things. Absolutely. Sometimes scary thoughts come out. Sometimes scary memories come out. And part of what, just like a fuck around with materials and see what happens, practice, like just fuck around and see. Not fuck around and find out, just see what happens, is we get to see what happens. And as a world-class artist who is the child of world-class artists, both of my parents taught in universities. My mother had a PhD in art history. My father has taught Keith Lockhart how to be the conductor of the Boston Pops. I had a very strange childhood with direct access to a whole bunch of shit most people don't even know exists. And it was all asshole, obnoxious classical music where you have to get it right. Not one adult, not one human, not one teacher ever in my life said anything that came out of me was wrong, even if it was dark, weird, twisted, or gory. Never. Ever. All anybody ever asked me about it was like, wow, how did you come up with that? Where did that come from? And then you know what else, Scooby-Doo? They were not trying to make sure that I was doing things right or get it correct or whatever. They were curious. They were curious. And very often, I believe this very much, okay? So much I stopped. Okay, listen. Okay. Healing does not occur with words. No healing and no learning occurs solely through words and formulas. Growth, our experience of growth is primarily, I believe, subtext, unconscious, invisible, and magical, mystical. So when I had 21 lymph nodes removed from my armpit and couldn't move my hand for a year and a half, as a classical pianist, I was like, how the fuck am I gonna like do anything? I couldn't write, I can't do anything precise. I had to find all new ways to be with my body. And there's so much, like, I feel very deeply, and I don't even have a name for the emotion, how it must be to have experienced No Child Left Behind in the school system. I got out in the 80s. No Child Left Behind practically, hello faithful, hello blue, it turned everybody into test takers. So do you know what that does psychologically? Ew, it turns creativity into taking a test. Ugh. And then also it turns healing into taking a test. Gross. Gross. I am so not that. Well, this might be why you're afraid to just like be ugly in your art or like create terrifying things. So my personal perspective is, if it really fucking hurts my body and my heart and my mind, then I really might have something to look at. But if I'm just having not suicide, like I cannot tell you how many people die if I'm driving on a highway every day. Mass, like please. It is horrendous the way that I scream at other drivers. I don't take that home. But if somebody was just like asking me about my behavior while driving, perhaps I would be labeled aggressive because I have aggressive thoughts, right? But I'm not taking aggressive acts. And when we are aggressed, when shit happens, the thin veil felt like I could help. Perhaps, Jess. I don't know. I should have a half hour, schedule a half hour on my Substack, but I think I only have a schedule an hour, which you actually have to pay for. So I need to shift that, but send me an email. And these half hours, friends, I don't have something to sell you. I have a whole bunch of shit to show you. I show you the way. People say the way, Taoism. It is geometry and logic. It's presented and written about impossibly complex because it's logic and geometry. And I'm now really understanding that anybody who wants to come into this idea of non-dualism, if you're only stuck in the philosophy of like the Tao that can be named is not the Tao, the 10,000 things give birth to the 20,000 other things, that is so up here. There's not a lot of practical stuff you can do with it. It's not practical. Taoist alchemy is practical elementally in that our body has 5 main elements in it: earth, water, fire, metal, and wood. All of them are represented here. They're not all shown, but they're all represented. So when you and I are in an alchemical context, which is interfacing and using something like this, or the yin and the yang, or a sigil as an anchor, or a place for contemplation and attention to go, right, to be directed, then we're already doing the alchemy. So KDZ has arrived with some shortcuts and wormholes, very specifically through the physics of space-time. Because these guys figured it out, and it was girls, and they told me I can do it, and they gave me a stroke, okay? So let's take advantage and be confused. So the healing smile as an example, I'm so happy that, I'm hoping those are tears of relief, right? Isn't it a relief? You get to be fully fucked up and broken with me. I don't know about anybody else. I used to teach at Pittsburgh Ballet Theater. I'm going to show off for a minute here. I used to teach at Pittsburgh Ballet Theater. I was, of course, their favorite teacher because I'm not going to force you guys. You're forced all day. You don't need to force with me. And they're like, I'm like, yeah, you can just fucking like hang out and exist. And to be able to hang out and exist in their bodies in that context was so foreign. Of course they hang out and exist. They're kids. They're like 18, 17-year-old kids. But they're also learning how to be professional ballet dancers at one of the world's most whatever prestigious blah, 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 blah. As you might imagine, I did not fit there. Little too unpredictable for them. That's fine. But the kids loved it. They loved it. And, you know, I was working with somebody last year who is a midwife and works in an agency where she's assisting adults in need. And she's never been able to fuck up. Yeah, they all love my parents too, and my brother as teachers. The Zitterbart way is what you could call it. But this woman was so like freak. I'm like, you can totally fuck up. There's you know, if you go into a martial arts studio, which I don't have a belted background. My brother does, and we're twins. The assumption is that you're going to be fucking up the whole time. If you go to a yoga studio, the expectation is that you're becoming perfect every time. What kind of pressure is that to put on one human body mind if you're in that context to heal and you have pain? So like if I see somebody setting up in the corner of the studio every time and back to the wall every time, I'm going to infer trauma. But I'm not going to go, hey man, let me help your trauma. No, I'm just going to infer that. And so, yeah, this is very like anti-American yoga is really where I'm at. I am anti-colonized, I'm really anti polyvagal theory very much. The whole concept of nervous system regulation is so dangerous right now for our brains. Our brain health, not our nervous system health, our brains and our minds. It needs to be able to flow and be weird and like get messy, and you need to be able to have like a little knot. Why is it dangerous? Because it's impossible, for one thing, but mostly because the polyvagal theory has never been tested. They've never rigorously tested their own theories, Julie. And I'm saying this having trained with them. This is my soapbox. No, it's never been tested. Otherwise, it would be polyvagal protocol or polyvagal fact. So a theory in science is just that. It's a theory, right? It's something that you can like create a problem statement, a hypothesis, or something. Then you do experimentation, then you re-experiment, then you do more, and then you do all of this. So Stephen Porges writes his thesis on the polyvagal theory, which is the vagus nerve, okay? It's not affective neuroscience, so he has fully fucking ignored the entire branch of neuroscience that should be supporting his work. Why doesn't affective neuroscience guide me to polyvagal theory if I'm reading about how teenagers are increasing attempts? How come affective neuroscience doing long-term research over generations isn't like, yeah, baby, all we got to do is get that vagus nerve. That's what we need. So if the solution to a massive affective, AFF, these somatics are called affective or neuroaffective somatics. AFF, the affect, how does it show up? I show up kind of chaotic. Yeah, there's whole textbooks on it. It was invented about 100 years ago. There's a whole thing between affective neuroscience and B.F. Skinner with behaviorism. A lot of, yeah, that's a phrase I've coined. And if you go get the free things, you can learn more about it. But yeah, neuroaffective, AFF. So rather than doing like a yoga class for the purpose of understanding postures more, you would take a class for the purpose of understanding your experience of the posture. And that's a very different way to practice. So if you practice experientially, you as a body owner and inhabitor have the agency, the control, the sovereignty, and all of the everything that you would need to do what you need for it to work for you, including walk the fuck out the door, if that's the right thing. There's like no part of me and no part of affective anything that would be seeking to capture. It's always, as I have been taught about teaching, the seeking is to create the pathway and like to hold the light so that you can navigate what you're learning. Your yoga teachers taught you, of course, listen to your body, but do they tell you how? Do they tell you, and Julie, please, I'm speaking like globally and very, very broadly. Any positive experience you have with yoga is a good one. I am not trying to take you away from that. I am just saying very much that currently in the United States, especially, your yoga teachers are being trained into brainwashing neuroscience by a total lack of oversight by the American Medical and American Psychiatric Association that need to intervene in all of these trainings. I was having cancer at the time I was becoming aware of this, okay? Now we're coming into fucking Trub 2.0. And I feel like I could either go after the APA or just bring this all to you personally. I'd rather just bring it all to you. Your own practice, do what your body needs, yeah. So like in these Taoist practices, as an example, let me see if I can think of a yoga pose that we could contemplate two different ways. Easy seat. I'm already here. This is a very standard, like, welcome to class. Oh, hold on. Oh, my knees are 55 and sometimes I forget. Do you like my new fancy pants I got from Amazon this week? They make me feel very special. I'm gonna go see some young queers today and give them some free things to make them feel better. So I wanna be bright. So easy seat. Or, how do I wanna say this? this is like super duper important, but I also don't have anything like pre-planned. And I don't want to assail you with my opinions, right? Because that's not very good either. I know, it's my palate now that I have gray hair. Okay. Where yoga originates is in India. When people in India before the 20th century were learning yoga, this is the history I know. Somebody from South Asia may have a much better accounting, okay? But the history I know is yoga is something that was like assigned, right? So you would go to a teacher and say, hey man, I got all this shit going on. And the teacher would say, come back in a week and give you like, here's the 5 poses and here's the this and here's the that. And then you would go and do it. And then you would come back and then say, here's the this and here's the that. And then also there's Ayurveda, which is the medical system from India. So you might also be presented with alternatives or tools from any number of disciplines within the whole framework of the 8 limbs of yoga, which have a parallel in China to the 8 sections of the Bagua. So it's a parallel. Sometime in the 20th century, this Russian wealthy woman demanded that, I think it was Krishnamacharya, who's one of the big guys from India that came west, but she demanded that she receive certification. She demanded it. That changed how yoga was taught. So that's Krishnamacharya. Through Krishnamacharya, we get Patanjali, Yoga, Joyce, we get all of the Ashtanga, Iyengar, power yoga flavors. So that's one guy. Then there's this other guy, Ghosh, Vishnu Ghosh, whose brother was Paramahansa Yogananda, who wrote Autobiography of a Yogi. So if you've ever read Autobiography of a Yogi, Paramahansa Yogananda, Vishnu Ghosh. Ghosh trained Bikram Choudhury, who you might know as the international predator that he is. He's the one who actually certified me. Yeah, a little bit of a problem there. But Bikram does not give his yoga away. Bikram keeps it, and like you're forced into that system. So it's actually, even though he's that, okay, if you go around or above him, Choudhury, Bikram, just they've made, it's the only time I ever wanted to be invisible was when I saw him in person. The only time I've ever wanted to be invisible. I also had a complete full ride and a full-time job waiting for me, so I did it. It's a really wonderful form. I think you just gave me the idea, Chris. We're going to do that series without heat. It's so good for things like endometriosis, into getting the truth about the elites. This is just how the commerce of it occurred. Bikram, B-I-K-R-A-M. During that whole first part of the 20th century, there's like all kinds of other things happening, right? After World War II, and then we have the 50s, and we have all this shit. So Bikram ends up in LA sometime in the 70s. Joyce and Iyengar are having like all of their things. We're going to do the Bikram series. I'll teach it to you. This is turning into a lecture, but let me pretend like it's still music. So there's a marketing thing that happens when you have something to sell, right? You need to have words for it. You need to have customers for it. You need to have all kinds of things. And then the more digital the marketing gets, the more difficult it is to separate the marketing and the selling of a thing from the thing. What happens in the 90s with Web 1.0 is people like me were not able to keep the data perfectly separated for you because it was already corrupt. So my role in Web 1.0 was ethos for big data. Engineers would hire me specifically so that they would not fuck up people's brains, okay? And the yoga was already corrupt because of Yoga Journal. If you've ever heard of Yoga Journal, this guy Rodney Yee, fucking San Francisco. So anyway, all of this is happening. And your yoga instructors are increasingly distant from the source, literally. The source being whatever lineage the yoga that you're learning came from. So the source is the way the lineage works. It's like your monkeys on a vine, handing off the vine. And the monkeys are, phoop, phoop. So if you're a lineage holder, you've got the branch, and then you teach. And then when you're no longer holding the lineage, it's passed. And then it's, right? And then that's the lineage holder, and then that's no longer holding, and it gets passed, not sold. When it gets sold, it starts to get fractured. This is one of the big problems with appropriation specifically. This is why it's very difficult for white people to understand the experience of appropriation in yoga when we're like, but it's so beautiful. It's so, yeah, it is, but it's also not that. And so why, I don't remember how I got on this, but there's your takedown on lineage. It is what it is. It ain't when it ain't. Genesis. Good for endometriosis, yes. And getting into the truth about the elites. Comfy, colorful win. So it's to be aware. And then also the way that, my friends, truly, human design, nervous system regulation, all of these things, okay, they're encoding into our cortex, our consciousness cortex, which is the structure of the matrix. Okay, the matrix is your fucking mind. All these people trying to escape the matrix into what? Are you going to become a fucking Martian? It's, why the fuck would you not want to exist wholly human? Because that's when you become the perceiver of the matrix. We don't exist wholly human anymore. We're like very connected and attached to the chats, to all of the digitals. You wanted to become certified. Oh, fuck yeah, go get certified. It's just, what are you getting certified in? Who is certifying you? And then what is happening after that? If I had the body power, I would be certifying people right now, but I don't. I literally physically can't do it. Got into human design for a while. So human design is stolen from the I Ching, which is the genetic code. He stole it and he changed it. And then he showed you a map of your main organs. That is fucked up necromancy. That is bad necromancy. Bad. If it's helping you understand, that's fantastic. But remember, that's just a tool in a book, okay? Human design isn't a thing. He only came up with it in the 80s. It won't be a thing until it's like 3 generations of thing. And he also then would have to teach somebody's child in that. It's not a lineage. The fucking yin yoga folks, friends, Bernie Clark. Oh, you're a whole lineage now? That's amazing, Bernie. Fucking amazing. He made a school. I have a school, a thought. Shantagrity is a school. I'm not a fucking lineage. Kundalini, so beautiful. Go find a temple. But be aware of cults too. I mean, like it's everywhere. I don't know enough about Kundalini to direct you in a direction. I feel like Ashtanga studios, the Ashtanga practice is it's a yang practice, but the Ashtanga way of teaching is very traditional in that it's pretty open. People are working at the level they are, and then the sequences are relatively set. So your body ends up in a kind of like a mandala experience. So it's like a mantra for the body. Bikram is like that as well, even though he's a jerk, because it's the same every time. So the body goes into a mantra kind of thing. Diaphragm move for gastric pacer. Ooh, that sounds painful. Diaphragm, I cannot speak to that. That turns me into a doctor. But if it was me, I would be feeling for where the tension is and maybe looking at something like this guy's work. I mean, I'm not a doctor, so of course I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just kind of sharing what I might. So I might, maybe, look at this guy's stuff. This is, what the fuck is his name? Tom Myers, Anatomy Trains. You can get these images are all online. And you can kind of see where the big lines of fascia in your body are. The general rule of thumb, yes, I need to post these on Substack and on YouTube. I'm also very happy to send you something. But yeah, that's my next step, is to just immediately put these on Substack and YouTube. Thank you for asking that. Yeah. But I'm also working on, distilling some of this into more usable chunks. And I think truly the most important thing is to get connected to the healing sounds, which are free in everything. And they go back before acupuncture was practiced as acupuncture. The healing sounds are thousands. Some people say they're 20,000 years old. Some scholars. Most of the texts I'm in are only like 5,000 years before BC. I haven't been given access to much more, but it's all the same, and it's all smile and solid. We're just going to solid. Ooh, I've gone live for 90 minutes. It's almost time for me to eat something. And I have to tell y'all, my cats have disappeared, probably because I'm playing these bowls. Tea. Do you need special training? You could get some, but no, you don't need any. Here, let me show you. I just want to be mindful about how many breakable things I have around me and how horrible I am definitely bull in a china shop. I can't feel my hands and feet most of the time because of neuropathy. Here we go. Okay. So this is a bowl. You do not need to spend a lot of money on these. On Amazon, you can get them by diameter, like they just tell you what the radius is. And no, you don't need anything. So they're played like a bell, and depending on where you strike, you're going to get a different tone. I am not this kind of music teacher. A percussionist or somebody like turning you into a sound healer might say something different. And then what you use to strike will make a difference as well. I can see why my parents never put drums in front of me. They just gave me the piano. So something like this mallet. Yeah, this is a lucite with silicone that I use on the crystal. Most of what folks are using on crystal is rubber. I have better glide with this. This drags too much for me. And then also some folks are using something like this, which is suede. So they just make different sounds. Like the strike will be different. So that's that. Yeah, I do have nice sticks. Here's the hollow. You can also hear that I don't like that at all. And then this is, most of your crystal is going to come with this. Thank you, I love it. I don't like hearing the mallet itself on the bowl. I just want to hear the bowl. So this gives me better glide. I can just maintain and sustain. And I can also be more fluid with it. So like if this hand is, because I don't have the lymph nodes, if this is in pain, I can just be very gentle with how I'm using this. And it's easier on my disability. But it does not, thank you, it does not necessarily, so part of how these are played is this way. It's called friction. I really like these mallets for strikes. And you get the overtones and the undertones with the metal that you're not going to get with the crystal. These are often tuned specifically. These can be tuned. They're very expensive if they're tuned. I'm fine with just about. But you don't need any training. There's nothing inherent to any of these that is magic or medicine. Nothing. I use these to put my keys in most of the time. People come over, they're like, oh, you have gloves in your, of course, what am I gonna do? Like have 20,000 bowls and then also 20,000 things to put stuff in? No. If I come to your house and we're doing a ceremony, obviously I'm gonna clean, but just for practicing, why not? Have I explained why the sounds heal? Well, wow, I have not. That's a big question. The sound in and of itself has the quality of vibration in our tissues. And there are some vibrations in our brain called oscillations. Our brain oscillates. Our brain has its own little like vibing that it's doing. And different oscillations are mapped to and can be measured based on different psychic states and states of awareness. So theta, as an example, is a frequency that is what our brain is vibrating at when we are in deep meditation. It's like 7 hertz. It's a very low wave. You can't hear it. Good. Never see your brain the same. I love it. Yeah. Sound in general, I believe, has this thing where, like, when I don't remember gestating, but during gestation, my mother played the piano. My dad was being a pianist. There was a lot of music in the house, definitely coming through my mother's body, right? The vibrations, dancing, all kinds of things. So sound, I think, just lands on us prime, as well as primal, but also prime, like primary. I feel like sound, sight, and taste are very primary senses, even more so than maybe touch. Like, but we need them all. So the frequencies, the sounds, they can be healing just because they create relaxation, but they can also be healing because I can do things like use a tuning fork that's tuned to a specific frequency on a meridian, and that will tell your little Shen to go like vibe at that rate. I don't know if they're doing it, but I love the idea of it. It's much nicer than having to take a test and get it right. This is all very, very subtle, and I am not presenting any of this as a replacement for any of your actual medical doctors, okay? I did 6 months chemo, 30 rounds of radiation. I take psych meds. I'm in it, but I need this shit for the day-to-day. Because all my healthcare providers are like this, waiting for me to have a break so they can put me away. Nobody, my healthcare workers are, my primary care is very committed to my idea that I just continue. Some people are very committed to me showing up a certain way. This takes us back to that affective neuroscience, right? Where affective neuroscience is looking at the how something shows up. Effective or like regulatory neuroscience is looking at how can I measure how it's showing up so that I know that you're doing it right. And that's where all cognitive models end up, is through a behavior, even DBT. I need DBT. I'm waiting to get into a program. But it's not a tool for, I don't believe personally that behavior models are tools for healing. I feel like they're tools for masking and for learning how to be in the world, and a lot of us need that, and just like practical shit, like, you know, doing my taxes from last year, but it's not necessarily going to make my heart work better with my pericardium. This might, though, these vibrations, because my pericardium is vibing. Process much more than DBT or CBT. Yeah, CBT is very easy to measure and implement, and it's one of the first methods that was truly like, oh my gosh, this actually works. It does work from a carceral perspective. DBT this is me having opinions, just opinions. I would much rather see y'all learning cognitive science, which I should be teaching you. But the first most important thing I want you to have is the materials that remind you you have a body, and that guide you into toning your organs with really simple practices, which I don't have right in front of me, because I am chaos, okay? If you haven't figured it out, like this, practices like this. So there's your spleen. Spleen is the holder. It's where we experience trust and worry, and this is the sound to balance. Balance is too much trust and too much worry. So this is another acoustics. This, when you do this sound, it's doing a whole bunch of these sounds change how our mouth is on the inside, which influences this relationship between our jaw, the inner ear, vestibular experiences, neck and throat, and then it goes all the way down into our organs. So these are somatic practices. I don't need to take you to your body. It goes right to a fucking organ. That's different than sit and imagine that you're on top of a mountain and tell me what's in your environment. You don't have to have a body to do that. You certainly don't have to be in your body. Anybody who experiences dissociation, which I do, we can be dissociated. I can be dissociated and tell you all kinds of things about my environment and not be here. Sound for inflammation and fatigue. Ooh, la la. Okay. I'm actually going to give you a position for that, not a sound. Let me make it so that I can do that without breaking my things. First of all, I cannot make any claims about your inflammation or your brain, because I'm not your neuroscientist or a neuroscientist of that nature. Nor my doctor. That's your disclaimer. Okay, this is just a shape, but it's also like a really important one. I think if there's a master shape, I believe every human would benefit from, or at least benefit from trying, it's constructive rest position, very specifically. Constructive rest position is on your back with your knees bent and your feet on the floor. And then you're just like hanging out on gravity. So on your back, knees bent, feet on the floor. We'll get there in a moment with me, but if you want to get there on your own, go right ahead. And I will tell you, if you experience POTS and dizziness, please be aware. Please be aware. Sometimes just lying down and turning my head can like bring on dizzy if I'm having a very POTS day. So I just want you to know, like, even something like this, depending on what's going on, might be a lot for your body. But constructive rest position is a great way to be in favor with gravity when we spend so much time opposing it by like walking. Just being an upright animal makes us an antagonist to gravity. Like all we have is this, right? We're not on our all fours, we're here. So as an antagonist, that means we're like basically operating against it when we're walking and moving. Put my mother wound in her, I just put my mother wound in that big bowl. Now she has a nice big bath. My mother liked baths, it's perfect. Okay, hold on. These are heavy. Heavy and homeless. Let me just move this over here. Constructive rest. 15 minutes a day. All right, there's my mat. Whoop, that's me. That was my ceiling. There we go. Here's my mat. Can I tell you, I truly do clean this like 4 times a week, and it's always, I need a studio. Anybody want to give me one? Okay, so constructive rest is when you lie down on your back, what we're going for is to have this zone right here. Do you see how it's like a little building? That's your pineal gland. Okay, this is the back of your skull. This is your back. Here's our dowager hump. So all the chin forward, the chin jutting forward that we do is influencing this tissue here. So the idea is to begin to, I'm gonna have to look at this when I'm doing it, is to begin to lie in a way that the experience of this gets truly just a little bit of length. So the way you can do that lying down, most of the time folks are going to benefit from maybe like an inch or so of support under the head. And I mean like just a little bit of support. Like you probably have a book lying around you can use. And then you lie down with your knees bent and your feet on the floor. Oh, and I just got dizzy and I knew that would happen. Okay. So lying down, knees bent, feet on the floor. Can you see me? Enough? We'll pretend like that's enough. Tomorrow morning, we'll do something that's like full screen. I'll turn my phone sideways. But the idea, if you look at my chin, do you see how my chin is it's pointing up towards the ceiling? This is the chin jutting forward that we're in a lot. Watch what happens to my nose as I bring my chin down. Now, my nose is up, my chin is a little bit more this way, and that gives me this curve underneath my neck here, so that as I'm lying on this, okay, this is right where the base of the skull is. So the base itself is open, like I could rub my neck here, but I'm resting on my skull. In craniosacral lands, this is contemplated as the still point. And what can happen, and this is so amazing for like certain kinds of tension headaches even, is just being here and then truly like existing will start to shift how your body's fluids are responding to gravity, right? So your heart is still going to be beating. Blood still flows. But our lymph needs movement to move through the body. So this is going to slow movement down. And after about 10 or 15 minutes for most of us, and when I do this, I like have like weird like shakes and shit in it. But if you've got the space, the time, the interest, and it's not hurting, it does take time, but this will start to help the psoas muscle that goes from your groin to your spine. It'll help the psoas fucking chill out. Psoas. Oh my goodness. Psoas muscle is the muscle that makes us clench, brings us in like this, which is a very, it's like an instinctual response to threat, is to collapse like that, to curl in. So this is a way to unfurl that a little bit without force. And I know you were asking me about your brain. Since I'm not a neuroscientist in that way and I'm not your doctor, I will just share with you, it has been my experience that like right now I'm getting some sinus pressure relief, especially on my right side. My ears will often respond to pressure changes in a favorable way here. And then just from like a trauma perspective, if you came into my home and commercial disclosure, sure, whatever. If you were to come, sorry, I just got busted for knowing something. If you came into my home or something and you were doing that, one of the things we could do is, where's my other mother? Here she is. So as you're lying down on your back, this is clearly not it's just a model, but this on your back here, it just starts to lengthen. It's called the jade pillow in the tantric system. This jade pillow here gives us this line of gravity in the brain, in the head. This line here is dorsal ventral in polyvagal land. Dorsal ventral, sorry, I was backwards. So like your dorsal fin if you were a fish. But in your brain, the words are rostral and caudal, C-A-U. Hello, never knew that. That goes with how we developed as embryos. So this amazing simple shape of constructive rest does this, like, it's incredible. It's from Alexander Technique is where I learned it. She's very soft. Hello. How are you? Nice to see you. She's very soft. But you can also do things, you can do it on your own too, where you're just like very gently, very lightly. Yeah, of course cervical curve is necessary. It's a shape that I'm describing though. I'm not telling you to stay there for the rest of your life. And then as this starts to find fluidity, what happens in the low back down here, at the end of the spine, we have a bone called the sacrum. And the sacrum and the cranium have a direct relationship, which ideally, experientially has a little bit of a this happening. Just a little bit of, so we're not like this all the time, right? When I was being a dancer, they used to talk about like you have a string out of the top of your head. This was when I was a child. And that it's holding me up to the stars and like you just like do everything around the string. Yeah. So the back line of the body in Chinese medicine is so flippin' important because this half, like front half, back half of us, if you go to your acupuncturist, there isn't a meridian that's specific to this line between the front and the back, between ventral and dorsal. When your fucking polyvagal humans tell you that you're dorsal dominant, functional freeze or whatever, they're coming after your back. This is dorsal. Ventral is forward. Post-traumatic stress says that the post is in the past, and hello, where the fuck is the last time I had a post in my traumatic stress? Like, hello, occipital release in the exact area. The string from Tai Chi. Yeah. So that string is also, you could contemplate that as the one dimension. So we're already there, string practice. I don't know why those boys need so much math. Just make it art, make it theater. So this is the coronal axis of our body and the coronal plane of the brain, the corona. The coronavirus is coronal in nature. So one of the things that it did to us psychically is it fixed us forward to our screens for 2 years, just because of the global news cycle and everybody had to telecommute. Okay, so it's human and screen. Most of the screens you're looking at are lying to you. Like if you come onto TikTok, most of the screens you're looking at are as though you are this person's mirror, not as though you're in the same room with them. The whole right-left mix-up that happens. When data and information is attached to that and your body's doing all the like right side, left side, which goes where, fix the prefrontal, get the visual cortex, blah, 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 blah. Those little information bits also get stored in your neural net, in your brain. And when we attach all of that to a nervous system and to words like right and true and regulated and not regulated, and the information, the data is literally being misguided into the brain, KDZ shows up and says, hey man, let's stop regulating and start resonating. So you can have all the language of nervous system regulation and add on to it. Make it art. Has to be art. When I become science, they try to put me away. I fully proved Einstein, and my best friend tried to commit me. Oh, but by the way, her husband works in a fascinating field of imaging, medical imaging, and they changed their science based on my tissue at the beginning of the pandemic. And then I discovered something physics related, and she tries to have me committed. So I feel like I'm on to something. Constructive rest is the place. It's such a good shape. And as a posture of rest, this is a very complex image showing where gravity is in our body. So we have gravity here. We have gravity at the belly. We have gravity at the head. This is that jade pillow that I was mentioning. This is just the natural thing that water does, is it falls. So if you're gonna like raise the vibration, raise to what? At some point it's gonna have to come down, but also water is densest in its fluid form. So be like water means just be fluid, baby. Don't be fixed. I don't know how you do that, but that's how we do it. I'm gonna have to get off soon and eat. And then also I have a check-in with my Dominate today. My Dominate partner, my proper management. Okay, I need to be in DS. It's very true about me, for real, for real. Okay, so somebody asked if this would be available. I just promised you it would go up on Substack. So I'll put that on Substack. My Substack is free. The paid stuff is research and shit. And for the paid, I'm aiming on at least one juicy article or white paper or something a week. So you actually get something for it. It's $10 a month. Soon there will be workshops and master classes that'll be free. Pay what you can, and then also, hire me to help your organization. Oh, I just did not mean to do that, Envy Therapist. I'm genuinely cutting off. Oh my goodness. What kind of partner? Oh, dominant partner. His name's the Dread Pirate Percy is how you will know him. And we've been friends for about 25 years. He was my partner for a couple years in that. I need to be properly managed. I'm a dom. Yes. He's in Boston though. He's just doming me. We're not like that anymore. We were like that for a long time. No more. Just existing. Gravity. Girl going down. I need to eat. I'm so happy we're here. Tomorrow at noon, I will come on and we'll do something sideways to the phone, and it'll be like a regular yoga type class. Okay? And instead of doing it on Eventbrite, I'll just do it here. And I thank all of you as well for being here. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.